Hello, 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 and welcome back, everyone. This is Dad Jokes. I'm Jerry, here joined by Brandon, and we're excited for another episode. Brandon, this is our 10th episode, and for our 10th episode, we're going to do something which I like to call Top 10, although it's going to be a little bit of a twist on that. Instead of Top 10, it's going to be two different Top 5s, and we might even throw a bonus Top 5 in there. We'll see what time does for us today.
I'm super excited, Jerry, which I think I say every episode. There's a few things I'm pretty sure I say every episode. We'll see if people are paying attention. But I'm super excited. I didn't know when we started this thing off if we get to 10 episodes. We obviously hoped we would, and we've been putting in the work and excited to see this thing grow. Excited for 100 episodes.
Yeah, we're super excited. And speaking of which, thank you to all of you guys out there, because our last 3 episodes have already climbed up to be in the top 5 already most listened to episodes, and very, very quickly. So obviously people are listening, and we appreciate it. Top 5, exactly. This is what this episode is. It's top 5 for our 10th episode, or I'm going to call it top 10 because it just sounds better. But as per usual, Brandon, let's start with a dad joke today. You ready?
Well, Jerry, before you start, I actually, right before we recorded this, just got off FaceTime with my mom, and my cousin was there. She just moved back home from California. She's listened to every episode thus far, so thank you to her.
Thank you.
But she told me that I have not won a dad joke.
Yes.
Period. In any episode. This is my own family saying this, so that stung a little bit. So we'll see how this episode goes.
I like that. Now I feel like I need to go
do.
back and do some research. I heard this one the other day, and it's a very simple dad joke. I won't lie to you, but it made me laugh. And whenever I hear one and it makes me laugh, I want to bring it up. Also, by the way, I did see my nephew yesterday, and he gave me our dad jokes from our last episode. So Nolan, thank you again. We really appreciated those. But today, Brandon, why are fish so smart?
Well, probably because they go to school all the time or something like
They live in schools.
that. Well, hopefully, me guessing it throws those who are keeping
It throws
tally
it off. It
a
was a
little
little bit of an easy one, but it was pretty good. I had a backup one, but we'll save that one for later. So, but yeah, Brandon, let's catch up a little bit. What's going on with you, Bryce, and the Banks household?
Well, by the time this episode airs, Bryce will be 6 weeks old. So tomorrow he will be 6 weeks old, and actually by the time this episode airs, he'll probably be
It'll be probably
older than that.
8 weeks old.
Yeah. But so that's exciting. It's funny. You don't really see it. Just seeing him every day. I mean, we see it a little bit, but when the grandparents who see him once or twice a week, they just notice every little difference, from color change to like how big he's getting, things like that. So that's huge. So this week we had, he was born with, as you guys know, you're growing up with him. He was born with a tongue tie. He had his follow-up appointment for the tongue tie. And we were told at this appointment, because of how kind of extreme the tongue tie was, that they may have to go back in and do some more clipping. They decided not to do so this go around. They took a look at everything, but she said they may still do something once he's a little bit older. It's still not really aggressive. He's able to eat well. His tongue is moving freely around his mouth, things like that. Just a little bit of a tie there. And then yesterday we left him as bad parents for the first time.
Big day.
Yeah, we had a wedding yesterday, and we actually ran into a few listeners of the podcast, so appreciate you guys. But it was I obviously leave them every day for work, so I've gotten used to it a little bit, as much as you can. That was the first time my wife had ever been away from him, so it was definitely some anxiety leading up to it and the day of. But honestly, she's going to be listening to this, but she did a lot better than I thought she would. I
was just going to ask you that, so I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask you, so how'd she do?
Oh, she did great. I thought that it was going to be like we get halfway there, and it's like, yo, I'm sorry to those who got married as one of her best friends. Hey, turn around. This is a great day for you. It's a bad day for me. We're going back home. So that didn't happen. We went there. It was a beautiful wedding, beautiful venue, and we stayed. We we had a little fun, and we got back home at a reasonable time.
Not too bad. I know that a lot of people always remember that first time away from their newborn, so I'm glad that it went well, because sometimes you hear some horror stories, but I'm glad that it went well. I know we're obviously at 34 weeks now, and we're due about a month before Christmas, and I keep getting lots of family members asking me what we're doing for Christmas, and I keep telling them I have no idea, and I don't plan on knowing anytime soon. I don't think they're very happy with me. They're probably going to listen to this and be upset with me too, but it's hard because you don't know. You don't know how you're going to handle it, how you're going to feel, so I feel a little bit better knowing that you guys have handled that, and it's gone pretty well. Not that we would be away from the newborn on Christmas, but just getting out of the house and going to see people is an adventure when you have a new one on the way, or a new one with you, I should say. So that is exciting. Speaking of new ones, bringing them with you, whenever you travel anywhere, a new one, you have to bring your infant car seat. In fact, before the baby's born, that's about one of the only things you actually really need. And Brandon, that's one of the only things I don't have. We ordered one. Well, we had one ordered for us. Very kind for people to get one for us. And it was ordered. It was supposed to ship. It was a whole thing. We didn't know if we were going to get it in time, but we do have a shipping date. It's supposed to be here this week, so that's exciting. And then our bassinet's coming this week is also, so that's pretty much the last two things that we need, or that we even had on the registry that we wanted to get before the baby arrives. So that'll be exciting. We'll get all that stuff in. We'll get ready for the last few weeks, because you never know. Obviously, you guys kind of had a plan of when you were going to go into the hospital, but we don't really have that, so we're just kind of waiting around, and we're thinking, obviously it's going to go 40 weeks, if not longer, because first-time pregnancies typically do, but who knows? It could happen at 35 weeks, 36 weeks, so we got to be prepared. So this week, hopefully we'll have everything, so if she goes into labor in the next few days, we might have to borrow one from someone, but if not, we should have our car seat installed and ready to go. But for us this last week, nothing too crazy. Basically, like I said, trying to get the last few things ready to go, trying to get the house locked down, and just a pretty normal week. Busy with work, both of us, and some exciting football games last night that kept me up late. But other than that, nothing too crazy. So, just a normal week, I guess.
Very exciting football games.
Yes, very, very exciting football games. And I'm very upset at Texas, Brandon, because if Texas would have held Oklahoma to a field goal, I would have won a 5-leg parlay, and it would have won me a lot of money. But instead, they blew it, and I hit every other leg of my parlay. So thank you, Texas. Yeah, thanks a lot. That one hurt. It was only a $10 bet, but I would have won quite a bit of money off a $10 bet. But oh well, Michigan won, so all is good in the world, at least for another week.
Yeah, and Deontay Wilder got knocked out by Fury, which was one of the better fights I've seen, and I'm a really big boxing fan, and that was worth the price of admission.
Yeah, I had multiple people I golfed this morning on. 3 guys watched it, and they all said it was the best fight they've ever seen. So I unfortunately did not watch it, but I heard it was fantastic, and I watched some highlights, and it looked like it was a great fight. I did watch the second one. Actually, Brandon, you were with me watching the second one. That one was not so great, so no. I'm glad the third one lived up to the hype.
It definitely did.
Speaking of living up to the hype, that's kind of a little bit of what we're talking about today. We're doing top 5 of a couple different categories. The first category, Brandon, I'm excited about is top 5 movies that we are excited to watch with our kids. Just to kind of qualify this a little bit, this is movies that we plan on watching with our kids relatively early, not when they're 15 or 16 or adults, but more like when they're, kids, around the 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old range. So these are movies that we are excited to watch with them in the early stages, I guess, if you will, of childhood. So, Brandon, I'll let you lead. I'm not saying we have to go in any particular order. I don't think we have to list like 1 through 5. I think this is just a top 5.
Okay. So, I'm going to start off with a group of movies that is probably going to surprise a lot of people. And this is just going to be, you said we don't have to listen in order, but this is going to be probably number 1 on my list.
Okay.
And it's not just one movie, it's a group of movies. And it's the VeggieTales movies. And it's from, basically I've pictured from early childhood, just from the music aspect, all the way through. I mean, I'm not going to lie, you catch me on a good day around work, you might hear me singing the VeggieTales theme song. I don't know if I should be admitting that or not. Shout out to Bob the Tomato. But it's just something I grew up on. It brought me a lot of joy. You can go a lot of different directions with them, but just good, wholesome movies that have really good music and are fun for kids to watch. So that's definitely number one on my list, and I think that could span from really early on and maybe potentially go out to he's probably not going to be watching VeggieTales when he's a teenager, but it might be something funny to talk about when he's on the bus with other kids who've watched it.
That's a good one. I actually brings back memories of Catechism for me. So I haven't seen them in a while, but that is a good one, and they are catchy. They do get stuck in your head. So I probably will do that as well with my children. So I
love
like
me
that.
some Larry Boy.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's Bob the Tomato. I like that too. I'll start with a group of movies as well, a little bit different. But these movies I absolutely love. Anyone who knows me knows I love these movies. And that is the Mighty Duck trilogy. I absolutely love the Mighty Ducks. And not only that, they made it into a TV show recently, and I watched all of that as well. But I love the Mighty Ducks. I'm excited to watch that with my kids. I think, 1 is great, 2 is my favorite, and 3 is even okay as well. So my wife had never seen them, and we actually watched them recently just because I love them so much. So the Mighty Ducks trilogy is on my list, and again, I'm not going in any order, but that might be number 1 for me too, Brandon.
Well, I don't want to trigger you like I did before, but I still have never seen the Mighty Ducks.
Well, don't worry. Bryce can come over and watch it with us. We'll let him watch it.
That sounds good.
All right, what's the next one on your list?
People are probably going to sense a theme in a lot of the rest of my list, or some of the rest of my list. Just for me, the movies that stick out for me as a kid were movies that kind of centered around holidays. They're just like those movies that you either watch with your parents or that came on that signified specific times of the year. And the next is a group of movies that I absolutely love. And it's the Home Alone series. And for most people, Home Alone 1 or Home Alone 2 are their absolute favorite. And I'm definitely going to make some people mad. But Home Alone 3 was my favorite.
Doesn't even have Macaulay Culkin in it.
I didn't need Macaulay Culkin.
It's not even real. It's like an off-brand Home Alone.
Now they started making more after that. I didn't really get into it that much. But for me, I thought that as a kid, I could legitimately build a lot of that stuff. Home Alone 3 had a really cool remote control car scene where he was spying on some of the criminals. And it just was a little bit more of I felt like there was more of sophisticated criminals in Home Alone 3. Now, as a kid, did I think that? I don't know. But Home Alone 3 for me was the best out of the group. But Home Alone 1, 2, and 3, you can't go wrong. And for me, those were, I can't wait for Bryce and myself to watch those together.
You know what I think it is? I think that Home Alone 3 came out more when we were at that age. Because honestly, Home Alone 3 is the one I remember the most too. So I think 1 and 2 was whatever to us. But Home Alone 3 I actually distinctly remember and I liked it. So I actually might agree with you on this, even though I'm giving you a hard time. But I think that's probably why.
You're absolutely right. It's when we started watching the movies. And then I went back and watched the first two.
Correct.
Which are great. Don't get me wrong.
They are. The first one's really good too.
Yeah.
Although,
Home Alone 3 for me.
Parenting, again, we talked about this last time. That, by the way, a movie that is not on my top 5 is The Parent Trap. So just to be clear, it is not on the top 5. That's bottom 5 list. It's a different day. But number 2 on my list, Brandon, and I might get some flack for this, one of my favorite, if not most favorite, Disney movie, Lilo and Stitch. I absolutely love some Lilo and Stitch. I think it's a great movie. I think it's funny. It's a good message. And it's a little bit different than your typical princess or, Prince Charming type of thing. And I like it. So Lilo and Stitch, I'm a big fan. We have some different Stitch stuffed animals. I have a Stitch coffee mug around the house. So I'm excited to watch that one. That's number 2 on my list.
It's interesting that Lilo and Stitch is your favorite Disney movie, but I'm not going to dig too much deeper in that.
There's probably some reason. Some therapy there.
It's a great movie. I'm not going to act like it isn't. It's just, without thinking too hard about it, I feel like I could name 10 other Disney movies that I would
here's the thing.
watch.
I think I wanted Stitch as a pet growing up. And then, I mean, my dog now, Raja, she's pretty close to how Stitch acts. So maybe I caught my wish.
That's pretty accurate.
Maybe that's.
But Raja's gotten a billion times better.
The ironic part is my sister has a dog named Stitch, so that's kind of funny too. So, but yes, yeah, Lilo and Stitch is there. What's 3 on your list?
So since you brought up Disney, I'm gonna give you and I cheated a little bit. I have 6 names on my list because I broke Disney into a. And for those of you who can't see this, Jerry's shaking his head because this is literally bothering him to his core. But I broke Disney into like Disney/Pixar, and I really cannot choose between the two. So on one side, you got The Lion King. On the Disney side, as a kid, you couldn't tell me I wasn't young Simba. I used to run around singing,
just wanted to be king.
Singing every single one of those songs. It just has one of the best, if not the best, soundtrack for Disney movies for me. That might cause some controversy. And then on the other side, I love Toy Story. And I think growing up for us, that was just one of those, I think it was the same time frame. Just like one of those first movies I remember just watching over and over again. My god sister growing up, who's a listener to the podcast, shout out to Toya. She was in high school at the time. I don't know how she did this. She bought me like one of those Buzz Lightyear action figures when they were super expensive. It was like $55, which for a high school kid at the time, I don't know how she pulled that off. And then we're talking 25 years ago, roughly. So shout out to you, Toy. I've never forgotten that. Buzz Lightyear. I don't know where it's at, but
Buzz Lightyear.
Buzz Lightyear. So Toy Story and Lion King. Can't wait. Hopefully my son has a little bit of a singing voice. I may or may not be able to hold a note, and we can sing together.
There you go. Both of those almost made my list, so those are both good picks. We do have a Buzz Lightyear action figure in our basement, and the live action is Raja's favorite movie. She loves to watch that, so just so you know. One of my favorite Disney movies of all time, though, actually, you're talking about classic movies, not the newer ones, but the classics, my absolute favorite is Aladdin. Love Aladdin. The genie's just awesome. Robin Williams, just incredible. And I don't know why, but like Aladdin was great. I was Aladdin for Halloween when I was young. My grandma made me the outfit homemade. She did it all herself. So I think Aladdin's great. I like the music.
If it wasn't Lion King, it would have been Aladdin.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a great movie. And that one for sure, the actual cartoon, not a huge fan of the live action of that, but definitely was a fan of Aladdin and could watch it. And I know they have a lot of cartoons, like actual TV shows for that. So I wouldn't even mind watching those with my kids too. So Aladdin's on the list for number 3. What's 4 for you, Brandon?
4 for me, we're going back to the holidays, and you cannot, in the Banks household, get through Christmas without putting on the Grinch. And I'm making...
What version? Version?
That's what I was about to say.
Okay.
I'm making enemies of a lot of people today. I'm sure I am. And you guys and your cartoon version of the Grinch can kick rocks. I don't care about it.
Agreed.
That is the dumb version. I don't need it. Give me Jim Carrey version all day. That's the only version that matters. That's top 1 of all the Grinches. That's all you need to know. If you come to me with anything else, you can kick rocks.
Brandon, I'm not used to agreeing with you so much, but you are absolutely correct. Jim Carrey and the Grinch is just fantastic.
Masterpiece.
Just, it's so great. I used to quote that all the time.
Oscar-worthy
performance. Number 4 on my list. This is kind of an obscure one, if you will. A lot of people have seen this, but no one really remembers it. But I absolutely loved this movie as a kid, and that is Angels in the Outfield. Danny Glover. Loved that movie, and it's just, I don't know why. Maybe because I love sports. I love sports, and I just thought that it was the greatest movie ever. And then they even made an Angels in the End Zone afterwards, which is pretty good. But like that movie made me want to, like, I don't know, like play baseball, watch baseball. I don't know. I just love Angels in the Outfield, and it is a great message too. Like, it's just a really good, wholesome message as well.
Jerry, there's a good chance that after this podcast is over, you and I will put down years of being enemies and become best friends. Because this list is amazing. And Angels in the Outfield, I hadn't thought of that. I might have to maneuver.
It's a great movie.
My last pick. I don't know. I love Angels in the Outfield. I love it especially for kids, but I'm gonna leave my last pick.
Okay, what's your last pick?
So it's staying with the sports theme. It's almost like we talked about this list before we started. We actually didn't, but Remember the Titans. And this is for when he's a little bit older. But I mean, you want to talk about great message? You want to talk about perseverance? You look at Herman Boone. That's what
Left
you
side.
do. Strong side, Jerry.
Left side.
And when we get to editing this, we're both going to be upset about how loud I just got. But you can't go wrong with Julius and Bertier.
Oh.
You got Petey. You got Sunshine
Hang on
from
to the ball, Petey.
California. Oh my goodness! Remember the Titans is quite possibly the greatest sports movie of all time. You can watch it at any age and love it. You just can't go wrong.
Remember the Titans is in my top 5 favorite movies of all time personally. I didn't put it on my list only because I was thinking it was a little bit older, but I mean, I cannot argue with that at all. I absolutely love that movie. And that is one of the movies, if it's on TV, I will stop and watch it every single time. Great movie.
Love it.
My last one, and I bet you my wife could guess most of these. This is one I don't think anyone would guess. And I've only seen the movie a couple times, but I absolutely love it. And the music is just amazing. And I kind of want to have a kid just so I can watch this again and not feel embarrassed. But I'm going to say it, Brandon, and that's Moana. I absolutely love that movie. I think the music in that, which, fun fact for those out there, and you're going to hate this, Brandon, because I know you do, but the guy who wrote Moana's music is the guy who wrote Hamilton. So
I thought you were about to say Hamilton for some reason. That's why Jerry can see my face. I started like frowning before.
No, that's
he
too
said
old
Moana.
for kids.
I agree. It's too old for me.
I love
Hamilton, number 1 overrated movie.
Oh, we're not going to go there. But anyways, the music is fantastic. And Moana was one of those movies that I watched, I don't know, a few years ago, and I was expecting to hate it, and it just sucked me in. And it was great, and I thought it was just absolutely fantastic. So Moana, that's our top 5s. Brandon, I can't argue with you. I'm not going to even try to say that mine's better than yours because both were great top 5s. I think that's a top 10 for the 10th episode. All those 5 combined, top 10 great movies. Now we're going to go on to something that both you and I love, and that is books. We are in a book club, for those of you that don't know. I know we've talked about it a few times. We love books. The book we're reading right now is fantastic, by the way, Brandon. We'll talk about that later. It's really good. But we're going to talk about top 5 favorite books that we want to read our children. But this is young. We want to read it to them right now. When they're Bryce's age, when we have our baby, right from birth, the first few months. What books are we excited to read to our kids? Brandon, you might already be reading these to Bryce, but that's a top 5. So let's hear. What's your number 1?
So my number 1 was the number 1 for me as a kid. My mom is probably listening to this episode. She knows what the answer to this is. It's The Cat in the Hat by Dr. Seuss. It's probably a lot of people's top 5. For me, it took on a little bit of a different meaning. As a kid, as a baby, my mom would read this book to me daily. Obviously, I didn't remember that. But as a young toddler, and we're talking, if you let her tell the story, I was under 2 and going into 2, just starting to be able to talk. And basically, we had a bedtime story every night. That was our routine. Before I went to bed, I got a bedtime story. And in reading, she read me Cat in the Hat. For those of you who do not know, and I am realizing this now because I've read this to my son 3 times. That is the longest children's book in the history of mankind.
It's all Dr.
My
Seuss.
mom, bless her heart, read that to me every night because that's the only book I wanted her to read. We had a ton of books, and that's all I asked for. So fast forward this long story. One of my cousins, Idris, was babysitting, and he had come over, and my parents were coming back for whatever reason, and my mom was showing off that she was tricking him basically and telling him that I could read. So what would happen is she would read a page and then I would read a page. Keep in mind, I'm 2. She'd read a page, I would read a page, and then he's looking in amazement at her, how is this young, basically baby reading? She read a page, I read a page. Until she read a page, and then I looked him dead in his eye, and kept reading the next page to him while she kept going. And basically, I had that entire book memorized as a kid. So she just tell that story to me all the time. It's something that like stuck with me. So Cat in the Hat is number one on my list.
Well, I'll keep it Dr. Seuss for my number one, just because you went there. One of my books is a Dr. Seuss book, and that is "Oh Baby, the Places You'll Go." We've been reading to our baby while obviously my wife's still pregnant, and that's one of the books that we've read, and it's just a great book. It is long. It is the longest book that I have on my list, but it is a great message. It is fun, and it's just a good one to read. I think your newborn, it's as good for the parents as it is for the kids. So that's my number one on the list is Oh Baby, the Places That You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. Again, not in any particular order, but because you went Dr. Seuss, I went there too. So that's the first book I'll list. What about number two for you, Brandon?
Number two is I'm staying with Dr. Seuss, and this is kind of almost a gimme for us. Our son's name is Bryce, and there's a book called The Many Mice of Mr. Bryce that Dr. Seuss has, and it basically just teaches the alphabet and also like some colors and things like that. But because it has his name in it, that was the very first book I bought him. Like when I found out that my wife was pregnant, we had a list of like basically 2 names that we talked about for a while, and Bryce was one of them. I went to our local bookstore and immediately bought some books, and that was the first book that I bought, just in case that ended up being his name, and it was. So basically, by default, that's going to be one of his favorite books because I'm about to read the heck out of it because his name's Bryce.
I don't know if we talked about this yet or not, but there's a weird thing that I read about kids and their names, and people really take to their names, meaning like if you're named Austin, you're a lot more likely to live in Austin. Or if you're named like Boston, like all these different things, like people are drawn to like their name or things associated with their name. So it would not be surprising at all if that was Bryce's favorite book, I guess, according to these studies at least. But
so you're telling me if I have a daughter and want to keep her in the States, not to name her London?
Correct. Or if you name her Brooklyn, you're probably going to be out in New York. So
I'm going to leave that alone, Jerry.
So the next book on my list is probably what I would say is maybe my favorite book for kids. And I absolutely love this book. If you guys haven't heard of this book, highly recommend buying it. And it's called When God Made You by Matthew Paul Turner. It is a great, great message. It is the perfect length, not too short, not too long. And the illustrations are fantastic in it. And I just absolutely love it. I love the message that it sends to kids, and it's like I said, a book that I would read multiple times over and over, and I'm hoping that through that it's a book that when they get older that they remember from their childhood. So that's number 2 on my list.
Shout out to you and your wife. You guys bought us that book, actually.
Yeah. Have you read it yet?
I have. That book's great.
Is it not? The illustrations are fantastic in it.
For me, if we're gonna stay with the wholesome books, and books with a great message. A book that we have been reading at Bryce is called I Am Whole by Shola Oz. For those who don't know or haven't checked out our Instagram, my wife is white, I'm black, which makes our baby mixed race. And that book really kind of digs into that just a little bit, but at a basically a baby and toddler perspective, just bringing perspective into kind of everyone's different, and that's okay. I'm summarizing it pretty horribly, but just I think it's important that we, as parents, just in the right way discuss things like that with our kid from an early age, just so he's comfortable with that going forward. So that's something that's important to us.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know they had that book, so that's pretty awesome. So that is a good book. Brandon, kind of going back to what we talked about just a little bit earlier, my next book's a little bit of a cheat code book. It is Disney Storybook Collection, and it actually is a collection of a number of stories. They're like short 5-minute stories, and it's got everything from Lion King to Wreck-It Ralph to, yes, Lilo and Stitch. So there's a bunch of different versions. This is probably the best version. I'm holding it up so Brandon can see. It's got a ton in there, but it's got, like I said, it's got Aladdin. It's got Wreck-It Ralph. It's got Lilo and Stitch. It's got Tangled, which I'm a big Tangled fan also. And they're good stories, good pictures, and it's great because you have like 40 stories in this one book. So I have a lot of those. So if you can get the Disney collection books, I highly recommend it because you can buy 4 books and have stories for months and months. So that's my cheat code book at number 3.
That's a great recommendation. I don't know that we have that book yet.
You
So
should.
I might have to go grab that.
And there's different versions of them too. There's
I've definitely bought it before for other people, but I don't know if I have it.
There's a Winnie the Pooh one that we have. That's a bunch of Winnie the Pooh stories. There's a bunch of Disney ones, like different characters and stuff. So they're great. We've been reading them for a while, and they're pretty good stories. There's like old school ones and new school ones.
Yeah, and you mentioned Tangled. That is one of those 10 movies that I would have over Lilo and Stitch.
I like Tangled a lot, so I won't argue with you there. The horse is fantastic.
I'm
What
trying
is
to
his
get
name?
you going, Jerry.
Like
You can stop
Brutus or
agreeing with me.
something?
Yeah.
Ah, the horse
Tangled
is
is
great.
amazing.
What's next on your list?
For me, I think this is a book that a lot of people, if my wife is listening to this, mute me for the next 15 seconds because she will not be able to read this book. But Love You Forever by Robert Munsch.
Oh, no. Don't do it to us, Brandon. I couldn't put that on my list.
I remember that book as part of my list was books that I remember as a kid, and it that was legitimately one of my favorite books as a kid. I don't know if it was the way my mom read it to me or what, but it stuck with me, and I always knew when I had a kid I wanted that book. So I did read that book before Bryce was born. I haven't read it since. I got emotional when I read it. It was kind of tough, but I got that out of the way, and we're going to be good going forward. That's going to be a good book to read.
All I can think of when I think of that book now, and I had kind of a similar experience with it, but there's a Friends episode where Joey reads that at a birthday party and everyone's crying. It just makes me laugh because he's reading that book and everyone's just crying. But it is a great book.
I might need to go ahead and check out Friends one day.
You might. It's actually pretty great. But so my next book, actually my wife can't read either, but for different reasons. It's called Thank You God for Daddy. So there's actually we actually have the exact same book, but it says For Mommy. So but I picked the For Daddy one because obviously I want to read this one to my kids because it's kind of a special bond book where it talks about dads and their kids. And it's about a lion and a cub, and it talks about kind of, being a dad. And so that's a good one, where you can, as a dad, read it to your kid and feel like you're kind of bonding with them. So Thank God for Daddy is a board book too, which are always great. So I definitely recommend that book.
Perfect. My last one is a fun book. It actually was given to us at our shower by the couple whose wedding we were at yesterday. And it's 1, 2, 3 with Notorious B.I.G. It was I hadn't heard of it before. That book is by Alex Lahores, and it is just a fun learning book that kind of incorporates the music that Bryce's dad likes to listen to more than any other. And we're gonna have some fun reading it. I haven't read that to him yet, but I've read it myself, and it's fun.
Is that classical jazz?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's kind of an up tempo with it delves into the minor chords specifically of the Notorious B.I.G.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you want to start talking music theory with me, Jerry?
I don't at all. I'll stay away from that. But you talked about obviously wanting to bond over music because music's super important to you. Well, my last book is about my and my wife's favorite show. So my last book is called The Office, A Day at Dunder Mifflin Elementary, and it is the children's office book, and it's super cute. If you haven't seen them, they have the same one for the Parks and Rec. I have that one as well, but The Office is my favorite TV show. It is Macy's favorite TV show, and the book is pretty great. It's by Rob Perlman. It's fun. There's little activities in the book, but you got to get them liking The Office at a young age. They can't watch it at a young age, but you got to get them interested so that when they get older, they know good TV, Brandon. You know what I mean?
Did not know that was a book.
Yep, Parks and Rec too.
I'm definitely gonna buy the Parks and Rec version because Parks and Rec over The Office.
We have it if you want to look at it.
In all seriousness, I'm buying the Office version of that book. I didn't know that was a book.
I actually have 2 Office versions, so I probably can give you one of those.
We
honestly,
might have to talk about that.
We might have to. Well, Brandon, our last top 5. We probably don't have time to delve too much into, but we can quickly run through it. It's kind of fun, kind of topical. We wanted to talk about a top 5 Halloween costume ideas for newborns. So why don't you quickly run through your top 5, Brandon? I'll do the same, and we'll go over it a little bit.
So for me, number 1 on the list, and the rest I'm not going to order, but number 1 by far was Baby Yoda. I've been a fan of The Mandalorian. It's probably super popular, but that's something that's super fun for me. The other things I have listed, Golden Retriever. We saw a $65 Golden Retriever costume that Pottery Barn was selling that I told my wife no to.
But to wear one time? Why not?
Yeah. But that was up there. If I'm doing one myself, I like the idea of E.T. That was a movie that I loved as a kid, and I would be like Elliot and put him in like a basket. And then we have his room giraffed out. So that is a list that I had there. And the 5th and final thing on the list was a soccer player, because his entire family plays soccer, including the other side and myself.
There you go. Not a bad list. So you get to actually have some fun with this because you will literally get to pick out an actual costume. We most likely will not because we're not due till November the 20th. But my top 5, number 1 on my list is a bear. I don't know why. I think little kids in bear costumes is the best thing ever. They look super cute. Actually, my nephew was a bear. 2 of my nephews were bears before, and I just love bear costumes. I don't care if it's a regular bear, Winnie the Pooh, just a bear. It's great. Number 2, especially if you have a chunky baby, Michelin Man. Great. If you have a chunky baby, it's kind of funny. It's kind of fun. So that's a good one there. Kind of similar to Baby Yoda. I like the alien from Toy Story. They have costumes like that. It's super cute.
The Claw.
The Claw. Yes, exactly. 4, I just saw this recently, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. A Harry Potter one. They had like the little scarf and the scar and the glasses. Now, if you can get the baby to keep the glasses on, more power to you. But it was the cutest thing ever. When I saw that, I was like, "That's awesome!" So Harry
like
Potter,
that. And then glasses like that.
Lastly, for a newborn, I just saw this as well. You get kind of a swaddle and you make it into a Subway sandwich bag, and they're like a sub in the Subway sandwich, and you put like little like toppings coming out. It was pretty awesome. So that was my top 5 there.
That's
so,
creative.
Yeah, we got probably a whole year to think about the first Halloween, so we'll have some time to delve into it. But there is a lot of good costumes out there.
There definitely are.
So not bad, Brandon. Our top 5s for our 10th episode. Now's your chance to prove that you can win a dad joke in a Dad Jokes episode. So let's hear a dad joke.
So Jerry, I texted you one over earlier, but I don't think we're able to say that on this episode.
We don't have to change.
But I wanted you, yeah, I wanted just to let you know that these are the jokes that I'm willing to stoop to if I keep losing. But I wanted to know, what do you think the U.S. state that's known for the extra small soft drinks are? So what U.S. state is known for its extra small soft drinks?
I don't know. Rhode Island?
Close, but not close at all. Minnesota.
Minnesota. You gotta say it like you're from Minnesota. Minnesota.
That's
bad.
Is that bad?
That was bad. Oh. That's okay though. Well, I'm not good at accents either.
I wasn't a intern for a minor league hockey team with a bunch of people from Minnesota.
I have actually, like Wisconsin and Minnesota. I have a person in one of my online classes right now from Minnesota, and she's got a great accent. So shout out to her if she's a listener.
I feel like I'm not gonna go where I was about to go. Wrap it up, Jerry.
All right, I'll wrap it up.
I'm going off the hinges.
Obviously, guys, this has been our 10th episode. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you haven't already, go to our Instagram page. It's the Dad Jokes Podcast. Go to our Facebook page. Write a review. Tell your friends about us. Like us. Give us recommendations. We've had a few people tell us what we should do on shows, and we take every single suggestion to heart. Even if you have a dad joke, let us know. Maybe you can help Brandon win. So please let us know that. Next time, we're excited for this. Me and Brandon are both very big dog lovers. We've mentioned our dogs many times. So we're going to talk about how to get ready for a baby and a pet. Not just dogs. We'll kind of go into more than that, but especially dogs, because let's be honest, they're the best. So dogs and babies, but also pets and babies, kind of delve into that, what to do to get ready, and also what that relationship can look like. So, but until next time, I am Jerry here with Brandon, and this has been Dad Jokes.